So when the earlier speaker from Nepal asked us to draw, so I drew about police brutality and relating it to the NSAS protests that happened in Nigeria in 2020. And that is going to also form the center of our conversation today. So my short talk session will explore how we used WhatsApp group as a digital tool in rebuilding the weak community and security forces relationship in the Northeast Nigeria, using it as a pathway to peace building, justice for victims of law enforcement abuses and brutality. So what happened? So following the uprising, the Boko Haram uprising in the Northeast Nigeria, young people actually became the target of police brutality. And to provide a bit of context here, you asked me why young people. That was because the insurgents were recruiting young people and security formations were being attacked. So when the security forces chase the insurgents, they run into the communities, and if the communities give up these insurgents, because they are from the community, so if they give them up, when the security forces go, the insurgents will come back and attack the community. And if they don't give them up, so they run a risk of being, having a mass arrest in the community, and they also run a risk of having even innocent people, being taken away. And some of these led to a lot of issues, that resulted to human rights abuses, extrajudicial killings, torture, large-scale displacement, and more especially the weak community relationship between the community and the law enforcement agents that were operating in that theater of war. So now fast forward to the post-insurgency era, because at the moment we are almost at the post-insurgency era, and for the sake of accountability, security forces have continued to deny any form of human rights abuses, in those communities. And we are working in 20 communities, in the Northeast. Then, so some of all these grievances has also resulted to, some citizens taking law into their hands and also targeting some of these law enforcement agents that are operating in their region. So for that, we saw it as a window to begin to talk about transitional justice. Now, these atrocities have happened. We cannot we demand accountability on the part of the insurgents, but what about the atrocities or human rights violations that were perpetrated by state actors? So we were demanding accountability. And that we began to talk about transitional justice. How do we begin to talk about reparation, rebuilding of those communities, reconciliations, having truth-telling and truth-seeking, dialogues, and also looking at the atrocities, that are being perpetrated or committed against young people, because they were more at the center. So we now looked at, because of the activities of the insurgents that happened in the region, infrastructures were broken down, roads were destroyed. Some of these communities were not, even accessible. Power lines or energy supply was shut down. Internet was very, very epileptic. So we looked at how can we be able to reach out these communities to begin to, talk to them, to begin to introduce transitional justice mechanisms, to begin to capacitate them and build their capacity. So we looked at tools that we are going to use. For us, we didn't want to start designing new applications or reinventing the wheel. So we looked at existing applications. Which of them can we leverage on? So WhatsApp was the easiest of the tools that came to mind. So we decided to create WhatsApp groups in these communities. We started mobilizing community gatekeepers, local governance structures, to begin to train them on transitional justice mechanisms so that they can be able to step down these trainings in their communities and begin to mobilize their people so that they can start talking about what happened and look towards holding, the people who are responsible accountable, and begin to talk about healing and how they are going to move from the step now to the next phase. So we talked to them about justice and reconciliation. We are pushing for security reforms, to prevent what happened, from happening again. We're looking at the social and economic well-being, the ability to also participate in governance, moving forward, and, capacitating them on human rights education as well. So we used WhatsApp as a tool. We are having WhatsApp calls. We are sharing data. We are sharing information, resource materials, and the rest of them. And we are also using WhatsApp as a group to also collect feedbacks and data from these communities, because we are not able to go to, some of these communities. Now, after collecting all this data from the community, then we now organized a more central truth-telling and truth reconciliation kind of dialogue, where we brought security forces who were operating in the region, and we also brought community leaders, gatekeepers, and local governance structures in the meeting. So we helped to amplify the voices of some of these community members from these local communities so that they can be able to hear their experiences and what they passed through. So the key successes, we were able to rebuild the weak community relationship that existed between the communities and the law enforcement agents, because these law enforcement agents are still operating in those communities. So we use WhatsApp group to be able to share their contact details and all that for the community members. So because these community members are also vulnerable, and wherever they experience any form of abuse, they escalate it on the WhatsApp group, and we're able to reach out to the security, the leadership of the security forces, to be able to respond to those issues. And it has been very, very effective, and they've been responding, and it has been mitigating issues of human rights abuses and strengthening the relationship between community and the law enforcement agents. So a whole lot of what we did, we used it for early warning signs. So when we see that, there are some law enforcement agents that are going out of their way abusing local communities, we raised, all those alarms to ensure that, peace is maintained, and to ensure that there is no further violence in that region. We also use it for capacity building trainings, and we also trained even the media on how to report on issues of human rights. So what are the challenges? So the challenges, due to the insecurity, due to the breakdown of infrastructure in those areas, we had a lot of challenges, weak internet penetration. Most times when you send video images for community leaders to, watch and understand, it takes a lot of time to download. It takes a lot of time for them to respond. Most times it takes 3 weeks, 2 weeks before they could get back to you. So these were the kind of challenges that we had, using WhatsApp as a tool. So we also had challenges of having both men and women on the WhatsApp group because of cultural and religious barriers. But at the end of the day, we were able to mitigate some of those challenges, and we had a smooth run of the group. So we also had problems with buy-in of critical stakeholders into using WhatsApp group as a tool to be able to mobilize communities, to be able to talk about, transitional justice. So what are the next steps? We hope to replicate, because there are other emerging threats, not only in the Northeast, but in some other regions of the country. So because of the success stories that we have gotten from this project, we hope to replicate it, to some of all other smaller communities that are having, similar threats as well. And in the course of this project, we were able to also develop a WhatsApp group that helped us to more like a WhatsApp group that has stakeholders in it, that helped us to respond, to issues of any form of law enforcement brutalities in local communities. And we've been keeping a track on the progress of that. So we are open to sharing the success stories that came out from this project. So if you have, if we are open to invitation to share more on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.